All right, y'all, this is chapter 5, communications. I can't see nothing. All right, so here we go. All right, we're going to talk about communication systems, communication within that system, team communication and dynamics, and therapeutic communications. All right, Krista and Barb are taking a mid-morning break at the relatively quiet of the crew quarters is broken by the tone that alerts them to an impending dispatch. Ambulance 12, Engine 14, respond to 2962 Union Street for a report of difficulty breathing. So, what information do they need to relay back to dispatch? Okay, they need to acknowledge that they received the call. What about the address? Do they need to give that back to dispatch? Okay. We work in a verbiage of repeating things, okay? All right, what types of equipment will they use to communicate with dispatch and the hospitals? Radios. What else? Phones, cell phones. We now have, Yeah, we don't use that anymore. We have satellite phones in trucks now. We learned a lot with Hurricane Katrina, okay? We could not talk to each other when Katrina hit. How old were y'all when Katrina hit? About 3? 5?
About 12.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it seems like forever ago.
That would just be an emergency situation, no risk communications down.
Yeah. Yeah. So, every EMS call involves communication. That's communication with your partner, with dispatch, with your patient, with bystanders, the hospital, fire department, police department. Okay, we have to communicate. Radio communication involves specialized communication equipment. Okay, you have shortwave radios, you have long wave radios. Okay, and it pretty much self-describes itself. Short waves, you can talk to, closer people. Long range, you can talk to much more people, okay? All right, although emergency pre-hospital care communication system vary considerably, many of them employ the components discussed over the next couple of slides. All right, the base station serves as a dispatch and coordination area and ideally is in contact with all other elements of the system. The base should be located in a suitable terrain, preferably on a hill, and to be in proximity of the hospital that serves as a medical command center. Base stations generally use relatively high power outputs, okay? These can talk to lots of people. Base station can talk to the fire department, the police department, the hospital, the sheriff's department, highway patrol, stuff like that, okay? Land mobility radio systems are usually a UHF, a VHF, 700 to 800 megahertz system that allows dispatch base to vehicles, vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to medical facility, and medical facility to medical facility communications, okay? This is what a radio in your truck looks like. Looks like an 800 radio, which is what we use at East Carroll. We have low band and high band, all right? All right, there's also a radio in the back. This is what you'll be giving your radio report over, okay? We don't have these in the back of East Carroll. We have cell phones, all right? All right, portable or handheld transmitter receivers are useful when you're out of your vehicle or in the patient compartment. All right, you must stay in communication with the base, with one another, and with medical direction. Each portable unit may also be used for medical direction when they are stationed at a hospital that has no radio. Portable units usually have power outputs ranging from 1 to 5 watts and thus have limited range. Although the signal of the handheld transmitter may be boosted by retransmission through a repeater, okay? and your truck will act as the repeater for these. All right. We are on a call, we carry these. If we go to the store, we carry these. If we go in the hospital, we carry these. All right. The only time we do not carry these is when we're physically in the station. All right. Repeaters are devices that receive transmissions from a relatively low powered source, such as a mobile or portable radio, and then rebroadcast them at another frequency at a higher power. Repeaters make communication possible in EMS systems that cover a wide area or where the terrain makes transmission and reception of signals difficult. All right. So, you have a portable radio that goes to a repeater that goes to the base station. And you have an EMS unit that goes to the repeater to the base station. Okay. You will find repeaters located throughout every parish, county, whatever it is that you serve. Okay. Madison, I don't have time for you today. Digital radio communications allow more radio equipment to operate on crowded radio frequencies. Digital radio equipment also allows transmission of routine information, such as when a unit is en route to a call with a push of a button, rather than by having to speak over the radio. These are called mobile dispatch MDTs. Mobile dispatch something. They're like MDTs or MDUs, mobile dispatch unit or something like that. Okay, so it's like a little GPS that's just up there. When you get a call, all your call information comes up on it. All right, you push a button to go en route. You push a button when you get on scene. All right, mobile. Maybe I can talk today. Mobile data terminals, MDT. This is what I was trying to get out earlier, but was having problems. The use of cellular phones as a means of communication in EMS is common today. Cellular phones transmit and receive through the air rather than over wires. Benefits of cellular phones include excellent sound quality, availability of channels, easy maintenance, and often increased privacy of communications. With the prevalence of smartphones,
They are smarter than you.
the EMT is able to not only provide voice communication, but also take and send images from the screen, access or send data files, call up information on, or research the internet if necessary. The majority, or the major disadvantage of cellular phone system for EMS is that they are part of the public phone system and can easily be overwhelmed during multiple casualty disasters. Okay, that is not necessarily true anymore. Most of the big networks now, like AT&T and Verizon, have what's called a first responder network. All right, you have to be a first responder to be on this network. Your speeds are faster. Okay, like the hurricane that's coming down, what's his name, Marco? All right, if Marco comes in and blows everything down, I will still have internet phone service. Okay, the general public will not.
Does it cost more?
No, it's actually cheaper. But you have to be affiliated with somebody. Okay? The internet is faster. Like there's a crap load of perks to it. Okay? Alright. We use cell phones very, very frequently. Okay? Telemetry is the process of transmitting data through an automated communications process, most often using wireless data transfer technology. Historically, transmission of an EKG was the most common EMS application of telemetry. Today, however, vital signs and other more advanced patient data are also being transferred. All right. I've used my phone when I pick up a STEMI or a person that I know is having a heart attack. I can take a picture of the 12 lead and send it to whatever hospital that I'm going to. Okay, they can then take that picture, give it to the doctor. He can activate the cath lab if he sees fit. Okay, I've done this several times. In remote areas, EMS radio communications are commonly non-existent or extremely expensive. Land mobile satellite communication systems are an alternative to radio communications for EMS systems in these sparsely populated remote rural areas. This is why we have cell phones. Okay, this is why AT&T, Verizon, they're all going to this FirstNet thing. Okay, if you go to East Carroll, when I first started at East Carroll, I had 0 cell phone reception with AT&T. Okay, I had to swap over to Verizon. Now AT&T has put up a bunch of towers there, so I have cell phone service when other people don't have cell phone service, even with Verizon or AT&T. Okay, even when they're doing work on the towers, I still have service because it is a first responder. It is a higher tier. Okay, all your civilians are on this second tier, and all your first responders are going to be on that first tier. Okay, their phones are going to go down in the event of a catastrophic event, whereas mine will not. Okay. Radio operations are governed by the FCC. All right. The FCC licenses individual base station operations, assigns radio call signs, approves equipment for use, establishes limitations for transmitter power, output, assigns and monitors field operations. They also have set regulations to limit interference with emergency radio broadcasts, okay, and to bar the use of obscenities and profanity to broadcast. All right, the equipment should not be mishandled or unnecessarily exposed to harsh environmental conditions. Regular cleaning with a damp cloth and a mild detergent should be part of the maintenance program. Okay. All right, Krista uses the portable radio to acknowledge dispatch once the EMTs are in the vehicle. Barb pushes the status button on the MDT that indicates they are en route to the scene. At the scene, Barb pushes another button indicating their arrival. The EMTs check the scene for safety and proceed to the door of the residence at the dispatched address. All right, what further communications will need to take place between the EMT and dispatch? Okay, we pushed a button and did that.
Send the information.
Huh?
Send the charts.
Send the charts.
Or
Okay.
the patient's files.
All right, we're gonna do that a little later. Does the does dispatch need to know exactly what time they accessed the patient? Not what time they got in the house. Maybe they were, I don't know, hiding in a closet. You never know, it's EMS, okay? So dispatch needs to know how long it actually took you to lay eyes on that patient, okay? What information will the EMTs need to communicate to the receiving facility by radio? Huh?
Estimated time.
Okay. Assessment of the patient. How many patients? Care. Arrival time. Okay. What role does communication play in transferring patient care at the hospital?
You can tell them what you've done already.
Okay. Good. All right. As an EMT, you will be expected to communicate not just with your partners and patients, but also with EMS dispatch, medical direction, medical personnel, and receiving facilities. Okay. All right. In your book, there is a progression of a radio transmission. All right. Please read over that. We're going to go over some ground rules for radio communications. Turn the radio on and select the frequency. You want to listen before transmitting and adjust the volume. Press the push to talk button and wait 1 second before speaking. All right. Place the microphone 2 to 3 inches from your mouth. Speak slowly, clearly, and calmly. The unit you're calling should respond with go ahead or stand by. All right. You identify yourself first and then who you're wanting to talk to. Okay. So my call sign at East Carroll is EMS2. When I go en route to a call, I pick up the radio. I say EMS2. dispatch. Okay? They acknowledge, go ahead, EMS 2. I tell them, we're going to be en route to 1234 Hood Street. 10-4, EMS 2. Okay? Alright, keep transmissions brief, especially when calling the hospital. They do not care what color the patient's toenails are or what color fingernail polish they have on. Okay? They want short, concise, to the point, what's going on. Be organized, use plain English, avoid slang and jargon. When a number could be confusing over the air, follow it with the digits. Example, 13 should be stated 1-3. You can say 13 and then clarify it with 1-3. Give objective information and select subjective information from the patient assessment. You want to repeat back or echo any kind of orders given by your medical control. You need to write down important information such as address and medication orders. Alright? Remember that others can hear what you're saying. Use we rather than I. Use affirmative for yes, negative for no. Alright? When finished, say over or wait for confirmation from the receiving party. Alright. Cellular phone communication. Reports are the same. Be aware of cellular dead spots. If you have that FirstNet, you probably won't have these. Have a backup plan for communications. That's why we have sat phones in the trucks now. Okay, it's like $7 a minute to run those sat phones. However, if a hurricane comes up here and demolishes everything, we are going to be very, very glad we have them. All right, and no important telephone numbers. Okay, I keep all my important numbers, the sheriff's department, fire department, on my VIP call list, or that favorites, you know, that one screen you can touch that everything comes up. That's where I keep mine. Alright, your first contact on a run will probably be with your EMS systems dispatch. Perhaps a certified emergency medical dispatcher. It's the job of dispatch to obtain as much information as possible about an emergency, to direct the appropriate emergency services to the scene, and to advise the caller on how to manage the situation until help arrives. Okay? You will not always have a trained EMD. We do not have them where I work. We get the phone call, hey, 1234 Hood Street is requesting an ambulance. Okay, what's wrong with them? Well, I didn't ask. And it's gotten really bad since COVID hit, okay? COVID has changed a lot of the way we do things. We all used to go in the house. We took stretchers in the house. We took monitors in the house. We took jump bags in the house. We do not do that anymore, okay? We pre-screen these people. Have you had a cough, a fever? Have you been around anybody with any COVID symptoms? 9 times out of 10, they'll lie to you, okay? So, keep that in mind. All right. The information that dispatch provides to you will assist you in doing your job, if they can do their job. But remember that dispatch coordinates the different parts of this whole system. They also need information from you to ensure that those parts work together efficiently, okay? If you go on scene and you know that somebody is trapped in a vehicle, okay, you need to go ahead and tell dispatch, hey, get me firing route. Hey, can you call and see if I can get a helicopter to land? Can you see if they're flying, okay? All right. You're going to talk to them to any other assistance you may need, okay? You're going to tell them you've departed from the scene, when you arrive at destination, the number of patients, and they don't really care about your ETA. The hospital will care about your ETA. All right, you're going to tell them when you arrive at the facility, when you're available for another call, when you're en route back to the station, and arrival at your station, okay? On a run, you may have to communicate with medical personnel at various times via radio. Most of these communications will be with your system's medical direction and your personnel at the facility to which you're transporting a patient. In some systems, you may need to communicate with other EMS providers to transfer patient care. Okay? All right. So, when you're talking to these other people, be clear. Repeat the orders back. Ask for clarification if you need to. If the orders seem inappropriate, ask questions. Okay? Don't do it in a demeaning way, but maybe that doctor didn't understand what you said. Okay? All right. You need to let medical direction know your unit's number, the level of care. It's going to make a big difference if that doctor knows that's a BLS truck, whether that's an ALS truck. Okay? If you don't tell him you're a BLS truck and he's going to order you to give 4 milligrams of morphine IV, you're not going to be able to do that. Okay? So he's going to have to come up with another game plan. They need to know the patient's age. Are they male or female? Their chief complaint and the history of the present illness. They also need to know their past medical history. Mental status, baseline vital signs, any physical exam findings that you noted while you were doing your assessment. They also need to know the care that you have provided. Any response to that care. Did they get better? Did they get worse? Request for further interventions and your ETA. Okay? We use SBAR to organize information, situation, background, assessment, recommendation. It's a method of organizing communication into a standard format that would be particularly useful when communicating with medical direction, especially if you're seeking further orders. Okay? Situation refers to the problem or reasons why you're calling and the patient's chief complaint. Background is a concise description of the past medical history, the patient's response to treatment to that point. Assessment includes pertinent subjectives and objective assessment findings, such as mental status, vital signs, neurologic findings, blood glucose level, your Glasgow Coma scale. Recommendations is basically what you're requesting for the patient, such as an order to administer another nitroglycerin spray. All right, receiving facility. They need pertinent information. It allows them to prepare for the patient. Okay, we have certain rooms we take trauma patients. We have certain rooms we take COVID patients. We have certain rooms we take OB patients. All right, they need to know what kind of patient and as much time as you can give them, especially if you've been running all day, you know the emergency room's full. Like, as much heads up, even if I'm going out to a bad wreck, on the way out there, I will call the ER. Hey, I'm headed out to a bad wreck. Okay? I may need a helicopter. I may need 2 trauma rooms. All right? Just giving you a heads up. All right. They also need to know any changes that have occurred, all right, after your report is given. All right. After you're at the facility and turning the patient over to staff, you will deliver an oral report that takes into account your reassessment findings. It should summarize the information you already broadcast to the facility along with updated information from your reassessment. When you're given this oral report, you need to know the patient's current condition, age and gender, chief complaint, brief pertinent history, how you found the patient. Past major illnesses, okay? If they stubbed their toe 3 days ago and they're not complaining of any toe pain, do you think it makes a hill of beans whether they come in for chest pain and they have a stumped toe? It does not, okay? Vital signs, exam findings, treatment provided, and the patient's response to that treatment. All right? Krista and Barb arrive at the patient's residence just prior to the engine from the fire department. Upon entering the residence, Krista approaches the patient, 32-year-old Alyssa Tandy, while Barb takes a moment to speak with Alyssa's husband, David. A few minutes into the assessment, the engine arrives and paramedic Sam enters the scene. What skills are needed to establish rapport with the patient at the scene and obtain the necessary information? You think if you just barge in and knock the door down and be like, hey, what's your problem? That she's going to be very receptive of you? She gonna trust you? She gonna want to tell you what's going on? Okay, she's not. How should the crew interact with each other and with good responders or other responders and medical personnel to facilitate good patient care? Professionally. You are correct with that. All right. The EMT is a team member of healthcare profession. All right. At many scenes, you will function as part of a team composed of fire, rescue, law enforcement, or other professionals. In these situations, you are expected to communicate professionally with those working on the team as well as with others. Good team communication not only improves how the team accomplishes its goals, but it also improves the quality of service provided to the patient and your community. Some EMS systems use radio codes, either alone or in combination with messages in plain English. Radio codes can shorten radio airtime and provide clear and concise information. They can also allow transmission of information in a format not understood by the patient, family members, or bystanders. There are, however, several disadvantages to the use of codes. When 9/11 happened, everybody was talking in the radio codes for New York. Those of us, I say us, those first responders that went up there to assist in the recovery operations could not understand what was going on. Okay? We're not used to their radio codes. I've noticed this when I worked at AMR. Their radio codes are different than when I worked at Brookhaven. And Brookhaven's radio codes are different than when I worked in Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson's radio codes are completely different than where I work at now. Okay? Everybody's radio codes mean something different. Alright? So after 9/11, we went back to the plain English thing. Okay? So keep that in mind. Alright, we use military time. Everything you do will be in military time. I suggest you turn your phone to military time, your computers to military time, your watches to military time. Anything that you use to tell time, if you do not know military time, turn it to military time until you learn it. Okay? If you go out on a call at 10 o'clock in the morning, that's going to be rote 1000. Okay? Without the two little dots in the middle. Alright? If you go out to a call at 10 o'clock at night, that's going to be 2200. It's going to be 2200. Okay? Alright. Frequently used words or short phrases are used concisely to convey meaning. Alright. Examples include break, clear, copy, ETA, 10-4, landline, standby, and over. Alright. Communication is a critical skill that you have to learn. Alright. Communication is an essential part of your job. You must be able to communicate effectively with all of the people that you meet and come into contact with. Alright. It involves more than just what you say. Communication is a dynamic process that incorporates verbal and nonverbal expressions into meaningful messages that are received by your patients and bystanders. Okay? You have a process to communication. You have a sender that encodes a message. You have a receiver that decodes the message, and then feedback is received by the sender to help determine if the message was received or not. Okay? Alright, it's necessary to develop and establish a good rapport with your patients. Alright, putting the patient and yourself at ease allows for better communication. If you treat your patient with respect, compassion, and empathy, your communication with them will be easier and more accurate. Okay, techniques to improve provider and patient communication. Okay, silence. Silence is not always a bad thing. Okay. People get uncomfortable with silence, all right? But if you don't move on to that next question, if you didn't get a full answer for the question that you asked, just leave a little bit of silence in there, okay? It makes people uncomfortable, and they're probably going to spout out something that would be important, okay? Empathy, all right? People need to know that you care about them, all right? We're not in this for the money. You do this because you want to help people, okay? I promise. You ain't going to get rich off of this. All right. When the EMT arrives on a call, you may find the people at the scene injured, frightened, anxious, and possibly angry or in shock. These are high intense emotions that can make getting information from and delivering information to people difficult. To establish effective face-to-face communication with people in such circumstances, keep in mind the 3 C's: competence, confidence, and compassion. If you convey these qualities in what you do and say, you will get better cooperation and deal with fewer hostile or irrational responses, okay? If you walk up there and you're saying, and all that, and everything, and do you think somebody's going to have confidence in you know what you're doing? They're not. And if somebody doesn't have confidence in you, they're not going to trust you, okay? At all. All right, developing rapport and communicating with patients begins when you arrive on scene. It includes everything from how you present yourself physically to what you say and do in that first moment, okay? If you roll up on scene, you got your hat on backwards, you got one pants leg tucked in a boot, the other boot is unzipped, your shirt tail's hanging out, your belt's undone, you got wrinkles in your clothes from where you've been sleeping, they're going to look at you and think, I don't want this fool taking care of me. Okay? Usually we tell people it doesn't matter. If you actually need an ambulance, I don't care what I look like, you're going to accept help. Okay? But this appearance does matter. Alright? The more a patient can trust you, the more information you can get from them. Okay? That's what all this is getting information. Alright, you need to obtain permission to treat your patients. If the patient refuses, seek to understand the reason. Are you worried about an ambulance bill? Like, we're not even worried about that right now. You know? I don't even care if you got insurance. You know? If it will make you feel better, if your family member took you to the hospital. I don't care how you get medical treatment as long as you get the medical treatment that you need. Okay? That can put a lot of people at ease. Alright, usually the resistance is a form of denial or other defense mechanism because they are simply frightened or confused. Alright? And this goes back to, you never lie to a patient. You do not play into their hallucinations if that is a issue going on, okay? You need to explain to them everything that you're going to do, all right? Especially kids. All right. You need to speak clear, calmly, slowly. Use plain language and avoid jargon or even medical terminology, okay?
Like slime.
Yeah, slang. Alright. Speak professionally with concern and compassion and respect the patient's privacy. Okay? Because you're in this emergency situation, emotions can escalate very quickly in these situations. Limit interruption in communications with your patient. This gives you a chance to actively listen to your patient and helps you communicate better with them. Allow interruptions only when necessary for the patient's care. All right? Try to control the physical environment. Make sure that the lighting is sufficient for you and the patient to see each other. Limit outside noises. and interference so that you may actively listen to what your patient has to say. If I walk into a house, first thing I'm gonna do is turn the light on. Hey, y'all got another bulb for this light fixture? Can somebody find the remote and turn that TV off? All right, I need to be able to hear what's going on so I can accurately assess the situation. All right. Watch your body language. All right, I'm not the most friendliest person ever. Okay, I have a tendency to go in with my arms crossed, my hands in my pants, in my not in my pants, but in my pockets. You know, just kind of moseying on in there. Some people take offense to this. Okay, so I have to watch and be very, very careful with what I do with my hands and stuff like that. A lot of times I wear my stethoscope at work and my hands go up to where my stethoscope is. Okay, it's better than putting it in my pocket and, you know, keeping my arms crossed, stuff like that. Okay, be courteous, give choices when possible. Like we said before, actively listen, and be honest with your answers and statements to your patients. Okay, it's important to conduct an interview that will provide you with as much information as possible about your patient and the emergency. To do this, you need to know what types of questions to ask your patient. Okay, and we're going to go over a lot of those. When you combine effective interviewing techniques with genuine compassion and concern, you'll be able to gather the most information you need to help your patient. All right, we kind of talked about posture and stuff yesterday, but today, you want to position yourself relative to the patient. Okay, the patient's sitting down on the floor, on the couch, in a chair. You can kneel down to be on their level. All right, you can sit on the couch beside them if that's what you want to do. Hold Granny's hand. All right, people are going to open up more to you that way than just standing over them, staring down at them, going, "What's your problem? Why'd you call me at 3 o'clock in the morning?" And as much as sometimes I want to say that, okay, you have to develop a filter. "Hey, darling, what's going on? What's got you up this early in the morning?" Okay. All right, nonverbal communication. Watch your distance. You have an intimate zone, which is 3 feet inside your personal space. All right, this makes me very, very uncomfortable. I do not like to be in a corner. I do not like people up in my face. I don't like people touching me. Like, I'm not a hugger, okay? So, watch that zone, all right? Watch your gestures. Make eye contact, okay? All right, use open-ended questions, all right? This can get you a lot more information than closed questions, all right? So, does your belly hurt? No. Okay, man, where are you hurting at today? Oh, well, my belly hurts, and, you know, when I move a certain way, it kind of hurts then, and give the patient time to answer, okay? Don't just, "Hey, man, where are you hurting?" Okay, well, does your back hurt? Does your chest hurt? Does your head hurt? Does your eyes hurt? Does this, does that, does this, does that? Give them time to respond to your question, okay? And choose the language that a patient will understand, all right? All right, we talked about open-ended, and we talked about closed. All right, it's important to keep the patient interview moving in a therapeutic direction. Some considerations to keep in mind when you're interviewing a patient. Do not ask leading or biased questions. Don't interrupt them. Be aware of too much talking by you or the patient. Do not provide false reassurance, and do not give inappropriate advice, okay? A lot of times you'll walk in a house and there'll be several bystanders there. They're very well-meaning, okay? But when I ask the patient what their name is, they respond. Am I trying to figure out my patient's level of consciousness or my bystander's level of consciousness? My patient, okay? When I ask my patient, Hey ma'am, how old are you? Oh, well, she's 78, okay? I have a specific reason why I'm asking this patient these questions. It's not just for giggles and rainbows, okay? And a lot of times you're gonna have to explain this to the bystanders because they're gonna want to answer those questions for them. You just tell them, hey, look, I need her to answer these questions because I'm doing this is part of my assessment. You know, does she know who she is, where she is, what's going on? And usually they'll be like, okay, I understand, and kind of back off. And a lot of times you'll have to tell them again. And if you have to tell them a third time, you make them leave the room. Okay. Don't ask why questions, all right? You want to manage the presence and interactions of family members. Although well-meaning, they can inhibit your assessment. Okay? You need to motivate an unmotivated patient, and interviewing a hostile patient is much different than interviewing a non-hostile patient. Okay, we're going to go over that a little bit more in another chapter. Special considerations, transcultural considerations. Okay, I believe it's do I have any Muslims in here? Anybody Muslim? Okay. From what I understand, if you run it on a Muslim female, you have to ask the husband's permission to touch her. Okay, so that's something you need to kind of think about. Some cultural differences. All right. Elderly patients. What might be some special circumstances with elderly patients?
They have dementia or something.
They have dementia. Are they hard of hearing? Can they see? Do they have their glasses on? Can they see who they're talking to? Do they have hearing aids? Okay. And also your younger patients. What are some of the special circumstances with your younger patients? Like kids, babies.
They're gonna want their parents.
They're going to want their parents. Okay. They're going to be scared of you. They're going to think that you're going to give them a shot and hurt them. Okay. A lot of times you can give them your stethoscope. Let them play with your stethoscope. I don't have any right now, but I have gone to like Dollar Tree and bought little stuffed animals, little dolls. You know, we carry candy canes at Christmas, stuff like that. Okay. All right. When providing care to a patient, you need to consider how the patient's culture will influence the dynamics of a call. The culture is composed of the thoughts, communications, actions, and values of a racial, ethnic, religious, or social group. It impacts how information is received, how illness is viewed, and what treatments the individual prefers. Okay? What is it? Crap. What are the ones that come around and knock on the door? No.
JW.
Yeah. What is it? Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay. They do not believe in receiving blood products. Okay. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. No, they don't want you to take their blood, and they don't want to receive. Like if they were bleeding out somewhere, they do not believe in replacement.
So they don't believe blood test either?
I don't know. I don't know about all that.
Yeah, because I thought it was just like it had to do with like they don't want to take any other humans anything in their body or something.
Yeah, it's something to do with blood products given to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Special circumstances. The elderly. Do not make assumptions about hearing and vision problems. Don't go in Granny's house and be talking real loud and doing real big gestures, and Granny is just as spry as I am. Okay? Because Granny's going to tell you real quick, look, sonny boy, I can hear. Okay? Use extra patience with kids. Use simple, direct language. get on their level and be honest with them, okay? Krista performs a primary assessment and begins administering oxygen to Alyssa. Barb learns from David that Alyssa seems to have the flu, which triggered an asthma attack. When the paramedic Sam arrives, Krista introduces him to Alyssa. Sam crouches next to the sofa and begins to interview by asking Alyssa how she's feeling. Both Alyssa and David are much calmer now, and the providers have shown that they are confident and competent as well as compassionate and empathetic. All right, after beginning treatment at the scene, the providers place Alyssa in the ambulance and notify dispatch that they are en route to Brown County Hospital. Sam gives an organized radio report telling the receiving facility they have an ETA of 15 minutes. When they arrive at the hospital, Sam gives a transfer of care report, and the crew wishes Alyssa well before notifying dispatch that they are ready for the next call. All right, does anybody have any questions about communication?
Is ETA,
Estimated time of arrival. Yep. Questions, comments, concerns about Chapter 5?